Okay, stream should be live now. Sorry about that, guys. Facebook getting a really big pump here on news. Most likely will continue. The original targets were around 345. Let me see what the next targets were. I talked about them in the summary. Yeah, 349 was the next target, and then the next breakout is 360 to 365. So keep an eye on that. Hey, Gabriel, what's going on, man? Give you guys a few minutes to get in here before we get started. No Twitch today? What do you mean? Is my Twitch not running? What do you mean just on your end? It's not running? Should be. No, we're good. I think it's just on your end. Yeah, my Twitch is up. Just try to refresh. Should come up. So today we've got a few things to cover. I'm gonna go over some updates from the watches that I gave you guys yesterday. We're gonna go over some call flow that came in today. Not much happened on that end. We'll go over the biggest movers on the big companies. We'll go over the biggest volume movers as well. But then I also have some paid content to do towards the end of our stream. It's going to be a very small 3 to 5 minute segment, and I'll tell you guys before we start that. All right, sorry guys, I had to fix a few things. Pluto said, thanks for the Etsy trade. Just closed the calls for 342%. Nice, Pluto. Hey, I'm happy to help, man. Yeah, I'm kind of mad, man. I started that Excel sheet to cover all the lottos that we've been going over in Discord, and then I forgot to update it on Friday. So now I can't see the historical price of those lottos, and we had a hell of a week last week too. So kind of pissed me off that I missed that. But there's still a track record of that in the Discord, so it's okay. But I'm glad you guys were able to make some money on that. Yeah, John, if you know of one, man, let me know because I tried to. You can't do it in Tasty. Like I can't look at historical prices in Tasty. TD does. How do I pull those up in TD? Hey, Poncho, what's going on, Mucky? Who else is in here?
Pancho.
CCU. What's this? Let's take a look. Not sure what this is. Doesn't have a whole lot of volume. I do like the retest of this previous high. So we have like this rollover top that we're breaking out of. Now it's coming back to retest it. So as long as you stay above like this little area right here, the little SR flip, it should be okay. If you get back below that, this could have been a fake out, and then you very likely will go back to the range low.
You can actually put in the contract in TD and it'll bring up the price action for it.
Okay, nice. I need to do that because I had a lot of those contracts that we called out last week that I wanted to put in the Excel sheet. You know, to work on my track record. You know, sees. Yeah, Neo to the moon. Neo had a really big day. If you guys watched my summary of markets, I talked about how if it stayed above that 4450 pivot, it was very likely going to push higher. We're waiting for kind of a break of this momentum here. Then you should really start to see some buyers step in. The next target on Neo would be around $50, and then we're looking for around 55. If you guys watched my summary markets, I talked a lot about those shipping companies. So we had ZIM, DAC, NMM, MATX, and GSL. They're all pulling back today. So I grabbed ZIM and MATX. I'm going to start accumulating shares on these. I have a lot of funds sitting on the side though. Like I'm not throwing in all my money right away. I'm waiting on some bigger corrections or some continuation of the upside to start throwing more and more money at it. So I'm going to dollar cost average probably over the next few months, and these are going to be long-term positions for hopefully at least a year, depending on how it goes. If it starts just melting downward, then we'll cut our losses. But I'm hoping to hold these for at least a year, especially for the next 2 quarters. I think the last quarter of the year and the first quarter of 2022 should be very strong for these shipping companies. So just keep an eye on those. One thing I wanted to go over here, where is the call flow? We had a decent amount of calls come in today. Let's sort these by premium. The biggest one was a SPY order. They were buying the 436 calls. I think those are already up a little bit. They bought those around 10:11, so a little early in the day. Let's see. They bought those at 10:11. Yeah, so they're up a little bit. They bought them around the chop right here. And then what else do we have? We had NVIDIA come in, almost $1 million in premium, 815 calls for July 2nd, so those are weeklies. Let's take a look at that. 815 calls, what time did they come in? They came in at 11:07. So right around here during the breakout. So they're up a little bit. Which strikes were those? Those were 815, so not too far out of the money. So those could hit pretty soon. Little extended though, so unless you're like scalping this, I probably would not buy this far away from the average. Next up is SeaWorld. SeaWorld was getting a lot of puts too though. Where are those puts? I was seeing those earlier. Yeah, here are the puts, the 49s and the 45s. Pretty big size on the 49s. So those aren't just getting calls. But we do have decent size on those quarter million, $50 calls for August 20th. That chart is pretty ugly though. If we look at that chart, it's selling off pretty quickly. You can see that nasty sell off from that high. So you had that breakout way back here, tried to go higher, couldn't do it, tried to go higher again, then you double topped. So this looks pretty ugly here. So most likely we'll probably continue lower unless we reclaim like 54 very quickly. Next up is the energy sector. That one, we've been seeing these come in for the past like 2 weeks. People are betting pretty big on the energy sector going higher, mainly because of oil doing very well. These are the $54 calls for July 2nd. We'll take a look at that. So they're buying the dip on this. They're basically buying at the money. So they're not buying too far away. We're basically right where we are currently. When you're watching XLE, you really want to be watching oil. So CL, this is the oil futures. They're definitely uptrending, but they do look like they might want to pull back a little bit. So maybe a local pullback before the energy sector continues higher. Next up is ARC-G. We were seeing a lot of these come in, actually. Yeah, we had some lottos as well. These were the 9921s. They got weird strikes for July 16th. So a decent amount of calls coming in on those. You can see the 7-day flow here. Let me actually remove these filters. You can see a lot of these calls coming in. Decent amount of puts too, though. A lot of 89s and 85s. You can see most of the calls are in that 9921 area for July 16th. So we had a lot of repeats on that. What is that? About 400,000. Not too big. Let's see what's next. We had FU2, 177.50 calls for July 9th. Let's take a look at those. I actually like this chart. This chart's pretty clean. Nice little double bottom here. We're breaking out of the top of that double bottom as well. So if this was like a bulldog, you could look at the bulldog here, curved back, pop up, pull back, and now we're breaking out. So if we took some bulldog targets here, this would lead us to like 197 to 205. What were those calls? Those calls were 177. So these are a little lower. These are at the money. About 200,000 in premium. They are basically all the volume. There was no open interest on those contracts before this guy bought them. So a little unusual. Next up is BLNK, $43 calls for July 16th. Let's take a look at those. Basically the same pattern here. You've got a bulldog curved back there, double bottom, pop up, pull back. So if we want targets on this, you grab the low of the bulldog to the high of the bulldog. So now if we break out of this resistance right here, 46 to 49, you're looking for 57 to 59. Okay, I like that. I like that chart though. Pretty clean. Got to get above that pivot. Next up is Delta Airlines. We had $45 calls for July 30th. Let's take a look. And we'll do a couple more of these, then we'll move on. These are actually not too good. What is this? $45 calls, so a little out of the money. How much premium? Only 100K, so not too big. Yeah, so this guy's buying the dip. So he's looking for a double bottom here. Maybe into earnings, maybe a pop-up into earnings. Kind of similar to the Micron chart, which is absolutely paying. If you guys listen to me in Discord or you watch the weekly watch list, we talked about those Micron options that were getting a lot of call flow. This guy bought those options way down here on like June 22nd. Basically bought the bottom. Which contracts were those? Let me see. Those were the August 20th, 77.50s. Let me see what those are currently going for. Currently going for 820, and I'll show you guys a chart on these. And this is a very good chart for what you guys want to look for when you're looking for call flow. So this is that guy coming in that we called out in Discord. The guy popped up on the CheddarFlow scanner, and then we pulled up the chart, and it's very obvious to see where that guy is because he's like the only volume. So he bought a massive chunk of these contracts, and it's basically gone up ever since. And he's getting paid. He bought these around $5.50. They went down a little bit, I think, to like $5, and now we're at around $8. So almost 100% gain on those so far. Another one that I wanted to mention was Baidu. We called these out very low around June 23rd. Which contracts were those? Let me see. Those were the 205 calls for 716. What are those things going for? They're going for 735. And you can also see where this guy started to come in here. So look at this. This is another good chart when you're looking at options flow. You can see that volume coming in here. So the volume came in, right? And we pulled back a little bit. So you had some sell volume as well. So there was big buy volume, gapped up, tried to push. Then we had a little bit of sell volume. And then they popped up really hard, gapped up again. And now we're consolidating. So this is pretty healthy. Gap up, consolidation, breakout. Gap up, consolidation. And now we're waiting on that breakout again. So if you guys are still holding those contracts, I'd probably look for somewhere around $8 to around $10 to let go of those contracts. But massive, massive gain. Those were called out around 4, so they're already up 100%. Activision was another really big one. That guy, we talked about that on Twitter as well. Which contracts were those? Those were the $95 calls for November 19th. Let's take a look at those. So this is another one that you can actually see this guy very easily on the chart. You can see that volume started to come in. These actually sold off after he bought in, but he clearly knew something, and then it gapped up, consolidated, and now we're pushing very hard again. So he bought these around 550. They bottomed out around 5, and now they're at 750. So he's up about 50% on those already. And these have some time too. They're November. So he's most likely holding through earnings. So keep an eye on that. If you want to pay attention to his contracts, it's pretty easy because he has very big size. So if he starts selling, just watch the actual option chart, and you will see when he starts selling because he has a lot of those. I think he has over 15 to 20,000 contracts. So if you start seeing the open interest come down a lot, or you start seeing big sell volume, it's most likely him. Right now, they currently still have 16,000 open interest, so he is still holding. He has not sold any of his contracts. Can I take a look at Teladoc? Yeah, let's take a look. So Teladoc is doing that pattern that we've been talking about a lot. Where's my highlighter here? Oh, I already highlighted. There you go. So you have that downtrend, break above the 50-day, and then we have the close above the 50, close above the 20, close above the local range high. That like confirms your accumulation is breaking out, and then we have that continuation of the upside. So as long as this holds on to that trend, this is going to continue higher. What I like about this too is look at the 21. The 21's crossing the 50, so that shows you the short-term buyers are getting very strong here. So we should start to see a nice trend shift back towards like the 200 to 240 area. Pluto said, what's the success rate on CheddarFlow analysis? Some stocks like Expedia, Laser that had nice calls, volume died today. I don't really know the success rate because I've only been using them for about a week now. But from the filters that I've created, and I have a video coming out very soon for you guys, probably come out within the next 2 to 3 days. The filters that I've created, I've been posting in Discord for the past like week or so. They've been doing very, very well. I don't know the exact success rate, but I'd say easily over like 60, 70%. A lot of those calls that I mentioned, they did 100, 200, 300% gains. So they're not always going to be right, but when they're right, they seem to be working very, very heavily. Tilray looks pretty condensed, move upwards. So Tilray was one that JMA was actually looking at, and it has a very similar chart to what we like. It has that downtrend, break above the 50, 21 crossed. You're still holding the trend that created the low, so you put in a new low there. So as long as you hold on to that trend, I think it will continue higher. One thing that we were talking about is it needs volume. So you need the volume to come in on this to push it higher. Pancho, I'm actually about to get right into that. I'm going to go over these next two things, then we're going to get into our paid content. It's only going to be a little small 3 to 5 minute segment. So let's go over CLF. CLF, we've been looking at this for the past few weeks. As long as it holds this trend line here, it's going to continue higher. There's no reason to doubt this trend line because when you're putting in a trend line like this, the one thing you want to look for is you put in a new high once you bounce off the trend line. Okay, so when it made this trend, so like this little move right here, it made this trend, right? The thing you want to watch is it making a new high? So yes, it makes a new high. And then it tests the trend. Okay, is it making a new high? Yes, it is. Okay, it tests the trend again. Is it making a new high? Yes. So as long as it continues to make new highs every time it touches the trend line, then you should not doubt the trend line. The trend line is still strong. So as long as you believe in this trend here, you could buy here, or you could maybe wait for a small fake out and like buy the VWAP and 50-day moving average. But if we're betting just purely on probabilities, this has a high probability of bouncing. Now, what I would say that lowers the probability of this one is very high sell volume. So this little sell-off right here had very high sell volume. So this is not just a little pullback. There are actually sellers pushing this downward. Okay, so that's a little worrying. But like I said, as long as you hold above the trend, maybe hold above that support right below the trend, you should be making a new high.
Check out FUV Deja, start and run.
Let's take a look.
That might go for a close over resistance.
Yeah, FUV is another good one. JMA called us out a little while ago, down around like 1350, I think it was, somewhere around there. It's breaking the 1640 pivot right now, getting good volume too. So if you can hold above this pivot, there's a little bit of resistance at VWAP, which is also a gap fill, which we've already filled though. But that same area, right around 1670, you break that, there's really not a whole lot of resistance above you. So you could easily short squeeze up to like 21 to 25. It has a very, very high short float. I think it was like 45%. So keep an eye on that for sure.
Hey, and look at BNGO. It pulled back today after the gap. What do you think about this being like a retest?
Yeah, same chart that we've been talking about. Downtrend, break the 50, nice little bull flag off the break. I like it as long as it stays above.
To add right here?
Um,
I should have sold this morning when I was up 50%, but I didn't. I held.
If you're gonna add, I'd either wait for a complete gap fill, which it almost has done already, 755, or a break of the 50 on the 5 minute, so somewhere around like 775.
Take an anchored VWAP from the all-time high candle.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah, it's right on that. Yeah, the only worrying thing is if it goes for a complete gap fill.
Yeah.
And it looks like this stock does like to fill its gaps. It gapped up a lot on the way up, and it filled a lot of them.
I'm gonna hold off to add unless it pulls back a little bit more. I'll add around like 750.
I think that's right where the gap is, yeah. It has a small bull div right now. The 5-minute has a bull div. So if it starts to confirm that div, like above 775, it probably could bounce. All right, guys, in Discord, I'm going to mute the Discord. I've got to do a small paid content for the next 3 to 5 minutes. We're going to go over a penny stock. So let me mute the Discord. We'll get started. Let me throw up my paid promotion. So small disclaimer, guys, I am paid to talk about this next stock that we're going to talk about here. I do not own any of the stock. They did not give me a script or anything. So just a small disclaimer that this is paid content. I'm going to go over the stock here. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, and then we're going to get into some analysis. The stock we will be going over today is GSFI, Green Stream Holdings. They are a solar company engages in financing of solar greenhouses and solar farms through the use of rooftops of buildings, providing immediate tangible commercial value to the structures. The firm also provides access to solar and renewable energy to energy consumers. Now, one thing I want to talk about before we got into the technicals, let me pull this up here. This could be a catalyst because when you guys trade pennies, you got to understand the biggest thing with pennies is volume, right? You want there to be some kind of catalyst to lead that volume into that stock so it can push higher. This stock in particular has a very, very low market cap and a very low float. So this would be something kind of like if you guys trade bio farm stocks that are very, very low market cap. If they get any kind of catalyst, most likely from like FDA approval or something, they can move very, very quickly. Typically, you'll see a lot of short squeezes and stuff like that happen on these stocks as well. So this one has a 7 million market cap, so it's like a micro company with only an 80 mil share float. So I want to go over something real fast here, and then we'll get into the technicals. I'm going to give you guys a small description, and then we're going to talk about the chart. So Greenstream Finance, a solar utility and finance company with satellite offices in Malibu, California, New York, New Jersey, is focused on exploiting currently unmet markets in the solar energy space, is currently licensed in California, Nevada, Arizona, Washington, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New Mexico, Colorado, Hawaii, and finally Canada. The company's next generation solar greenhouses, constructed and managed by Green Range Solar LLC, a Nevada-based division, utilize proprietary greenhouse technology and trademark design developed by world-renowned architect Anthony Morali. The company is currently targeting high-growth solar market segments for its advanced solar greenhouses and advanced solar battery products. The company has a growing footprint and significantly underserved solar market in New York City, where it's targeting 50,000 to 100,000 square feet of rooftop space for the installation of its solar panels. All right, so we're going to cover that, and then we're going to talk about the technicals here. So look at this chart. What have we been talking about for the past couple weeks? We've been talking about this same exact chart pattern. We have the sell-off from the high, where it has almost a rollover top, right? You lose the 50, so now we're downtrending below the 50. It creates that accumulation. This one was mainly a bounce off a pivot, a daily pivot here. And then we reclaim the 50. So now we can go ahead and grab a trend line from the lows. It's currently testing it. So it tested it on Friday, bouncing off of it today. If it can hold above this level, what I'd be targeting, we would grab a Fibonacci, grab it from the high here, take it down to the lows. This would give us our fib targets. So for this trend, you can do this for pretty much any one of these charts that we've talked about where they have the downtrend breaking the 50 to reaccumulate. Your targets are always going to be pretty much the same. The 382, the 50, and the 618. This would be, if you guys have watched my Fibonacci video, this would be what we call the sell zone. So if you were to buy this, you would be looking to sell in that sell zone around 20 cents to 24 cents. So if this became a low here, that would generate about 200% gain. Now, here's the downside to this is there's not a whole lot of volume just yet. So if this does pull back, we would be looking at this support right here. We have VWAP around 5.5 cents, and then we have the pivot right around 4.5. And then the final low would be around 4 cents. That's the low that created the bottom in May. So one thing with penny stocks, like I said, you want to look for catalyst. The most recent catalyst that I could find on this company was they are actually partnered with a company that is going to be releasing a July 4th magazine issue called Social Life. So when that gets released, what is that? That's not technically this week. That would be next week. So look for probably around Friday to Monday. If you can get a catalyst on this, you could start to see some volume spike on this. And one thing with pennies is once they start getting volume, they will get more volume because they'll hit people's scanners. So if this thing starts to break out of, let's say, 7.5 cents to 7.7, then it's going to hit people's scanners. You're going to start hitting, like, what is that, a 3-month high? So anybody that has any kind of momentum scanner is going to get alerted to this getting volume. So that's what I'd look for. I would look for a catalyst that would lead this above 7.5 to 8 cents, which we are going to put an alert here. Or I would look for a retrace down to support around 5 cents. Okay? And like I said, if this does get a catalyst, if this does start to push higher, you're looking for a target around 22 cents. If you wanted to get out early, you could look for around 16 cents. If you wanted to get out really early, you could get out around 10 cents because that would be the VWAP level. Anything in between is not really worth it. So look for the breakout. Most recent level is 10, then 16, then 20, then 24. All right, guys, that is the end of the paid section. We're going to get back to our normal stream here. Do you guys have anything else you want me to take a look at? We got about 20 minutes left on our stream. Keep an eye on BABA, guys. We talked about this on the weekly watch list. You had a weekly bull div. You also are breaking out of a weekly downtrend as well. So this would be considered a micro pullback. You guys know I don't like trading micro pullbacks. So if you take the high of this candle to the low of this candle, this creates the range that we don't trade in. So you can either take the daily micro pullback or you could take the weekly. Because the weekly just started, because we're on Monday right now. So I would probably take the daily. Take the daily, not the weekly. So this is the pullback. If it closes like this, look for the break around 230. We could be looking for 233. And then if we break above that, we're looking for around 240 to 260. Snap and QFin both flagging, looking to enter. How do they look? I'll take a look. Snap. So Snap, as long as you hold this trend here, I think you are safe to go higher. And this is going to be most likely a retest of all of this resistance that's turning into support. You see all that resistance? You have all these highs right here. And we finally launched out of them. Typically when you see that, like a really strong resistance that you just break right through, you almost always will pull back to retest it to see if you can actually find some value on that level. So if you can stay above that high, this looks really good to continue higher. And because this trend is so steep, if this does hold the trend, it has to basically go vertical. So that could lead to some really strong gains. QFin, let's take a look. So QFin, you let go of these local trends here. You still have that longer term trend. You're kind of bull flagging down into that longer term trend. Keep an eye on that. 21 EMA is down around 39. If you can bounce off that, it could go higher. I don't like the loss in momentum. Look at the momentum here. So the momentum would need to break out of that in order to break out of this bull flag here. Recap on Fisker. Let's take a look. Fisker's still looking really good. JMA called this one out last week, I think. We talked about it on our stream. You had that break of the bull flag. You had that micro pullback that we talked about. And now finally, today is breaking out of that micro pullback. So if it can stay above like $20, then that micro pullback will be triggering to the bull side. And then I would be targeting around 2040 to 2340, which would be those VWAPs. You want to look at Huya? Let's take a look. So Huya is one that comes up on our short squeeze scanner every now and then. I haven't seen it recently, but it does look like it has that same exact pattern that we look for. We have that downtrend that created an accumulation, and now we're shifting our momentum to the upside. So we're back above the 50. The 21 has crossed the 50. So like this candle here was like the trigger. Now we're heading higher. So as long as you can hold above the trend here, you should be able to go higher. And what I'd be targeting would be around 1860 to around 1950. Not a bad chart. Pretty good volume too on that breakout. And then SGTX, let's take a look. So this one's just downtrending. So what we're looking for on this is that similar pattern to this. So you see how this has that nasty downtrend, but then it accumulates and reclaims the 50? The 50 is the red moving average. So then if we go to this one, look at that, downtrending. We have not reclaimed the 50 yet, but it looks like it's about to. You had a massive bull div here. Look at this bull div. Massive bull divergence, which is causing us to push back into the 50. If it can reclaim that 50 and hold above like $13, then this could definitely start to trend up. So something like that. That is when the momentum will shift, right? Good volume too. I like the volume down here. But this one's not ready yet. CBRE, let's take a look. So CBRE is kind of doing the inverse of what we were talking about. So we invert this chart. What does that look like? It's doing almost the same thing that we look for a shift in momentum to the bull side, but it's doing this to the bear side. So we have that really strong downtrend, a little bit of accumulation, but it's technically distribution, right? Because I'm inverting. And now we're trying to reclaim the 50 to the downside. So if it reclaims the 50 here, this trend, if it continues, it's going to push lower. So far right now, it has not done that. So if it holds on to the 50, this could lead to a breakout here. But I'd be a little careful. I'd probably wait for the breakout, or it's most likely going to roll over. You guys getting a hang of that pattern yet? We've gone over that pattern almost every stream for the past like 2 weeks, so hopefully you guys are able to see that pattern on the chart. It's a very, very high strike rate pattern. Roblox and plug. Roblox looks really good. Me and J May were talking about this morning. It hit the scanners and it just absolutely took off. Very, very strong move. Look at where we bounced. So that is the monthly VWAP and the 50-day moving average. Beautiful support right there came in and gave us that nice little hammer candle with that little bottom wick. And then we had confirmation to the upside. So for right now, as long as we hold on to this trend here, hold on to this pivot, I think this continues higher for sure. Next target on that would be the point of origin, which is right around 99. On plug, let's take a look. So once again, look at plug. This is why you guys need to master that pattern. It's on like every single chart right now. Downtrend, accumulation, reclaim the 50, 21 crosses, and now we're holding the trend from the bottom. We're putting in higher lows, right? But as long as we continue to put in higher lows, this will go higher. 35 is the breakout point. Break 35, you'll most likely go to 39. CLNE, let's take a look. CLNE, this is one that JMA likes a lot. Breaking the downtrend, reclaim the 50 once again, and then we have that bull flag. That's another thing we look for. Break of the 50, bull flag. So we're holding the 21 perfectly. If it can hold on to the 21 here, bounce a little bit, get some volume, this could easily start to retrace back to like 14, 15. What do I think about Activision Weekly? It looks really good. The weekly closed above the pivot. It gave you a buy the dip signal, which they have not failed. You actually had 2 fail out of the past 5 or what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 of the last 7. And then if we go back even further, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of the last 12 have failed. So they look pretty good. It's turning black to white on the OTS, meaning the buyers are stepping in. You're back above the 21. The daily just reclaimed a lot of that resistance that we were talking about on the watch list. So as long as you hold above like 94, it looks fantastic. Where would I take fib extensions on SMH? Let's take a look. Because this gives you a very clean impulse, I would take the most recent impulse. So you would take the low of either May 12th or May 19th. They don't really matter because they're the same. I'm going to take May 12th. And I would take that to the high on either June 1st or June 15th. Once again, doesn't really matter. They're about the same. The only downside to picking these levels is if you take the high of June 1st, we're technically breaking out already. So if you took that high, you would be looking for 268 to 271. If you took the next high, we technically have not broken out. We need to break out above 261. Then we look for 272. So it depends on if you want to be aggressive or you want to be safe here. If you want to be safe, you would say that we have not broken out yet. If you want to be aggressive, you would say we already have broken out, and you're looking for 268 to 272. Deja, do you have a trading strategy that combats high IV on contracts? The only thing that I do if I'm looking to trade stuff that's really high IV is you sell instead of buying. So you do like butterflies, iron condors, credit spreads. I was actually looking for stuff like that this morning. I was telling the guys in Discord I was looking around for premium, but I couldn't find any. I couldn't find any premium that I liked. How are those 1450 calls on Atos doing? Do you remember what date they were? Let me see if I can find them in the Discord. Here, I got a better idea. We'll just use CheddarFlow. They were... Oh, these are today. We want to see historical. Let's see. I think they were these. The July 16th, $14 ones. Those are the ones we're talking about. What did he buy them for? He bought them for $1.62. Let's see what they're going for. No, he's getting crushed. They are down to about $1. But he's getting wrecked. Look at these ones. These ones are pretty deep in the money. January 21st, 2022, $5 strikes. It's $4 in the money. He bought those at $5.59. What are they going for now? They're going for $5.30. That guy's also getting wrecked. So a lot of these guys, man, there's sometimes in the call flow they're not always right. Like, look at that Expedia guy we were talking about. That Expedia guy is getting buried. Absolutely buried. Look at these contracts. So remember we were talking about these on stream? These leaps? Look at how many of these things he bought. Everything that's purple, from here to here, is I'd assume the same firm, the same person. So he is deep. They're like 10 million plus. 195s for July 23rd, 2023. I mean, sorry, January 20th, 2023. 195s. Let me tell you how much those things are going for right now. He's getting buried. He bought them for 25, about 25 is his average. Let me see, 195s. They're currently going for 20 to 21, so he's down a lot. He's down 20% already. 20% of $10 million. So he's down 2 mil already. And he's still holding too, because I can see the open interest. Unless he closed today, which I don't think he did. Let's see. No, he did not close today. So he's down 2 mil. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, does this make a sound? I got a new thing made. Let me see. Here it is. Does this one make a sound? I know the subscribe thing does. Does this one? The social media thing? I don't think it does. It doesn't? Okay, awesome. I didn't want that one to make a noise, so that's good. I know the other ones do. I turned it down. Is it still loud? Here, let me do this one. This is the main one that I use. Is this one loud? It's not loud? Okay, good. Yeah, it's at about half volume. It's at about half volume. Because it was pretty loud before. We're getting a big spike here on SPY. SPY's not doing bad. I think it's following the move from Qs. It's good, awesome. It's actually working, man. You guys think little stuff like that is probably a little ridiculous, but my subscribers are actually going up since I made those little pop-ups. So they do actually work. Oh, another guy I wanted to talk about is the Micron guy. I think, did we already cover this? The Micron guy is getting paid. They came in at like $5. They're at like $8 now. That guy's getting absolutely paid. That guy bought the bottom too. Like, and I even said in Discord when he bought these, I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, what is he buying? He's buying these pretty far out. And it's right by earnings. Like he's anticipating the bottom coming in. If it doesn't bottom here, he's gonna get buried. But it did bottom, so that guy got paid.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Hey, did you see that they're finally gonna allow college athletes to make endorsements?
Yeah, they did back in the day, and then they took it away, so they're bringing it back.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court ruled that they can make up. They, don't have to be millionaires, but Supreme Court said that they can be paid money for the work that they do. And then now now that the Supreme Court says they can make money, every state is starting to allow them to make endorsement deals. And it was just so stupid to begin with when the colleges make so much money off them.
Dude, look at like the schools that do really well, like Ohio State and Alabama. Look at their facilities. And those kids aren't making any money. It's crazy.
The coaches get paid millions of dollars in salary.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Any cheap options? Let me take a look. So I have. Go ahead.
You know where that big lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court and everything, where it started from a basketball player that saw himself on an NCAA video game?
Yeah, he's the one that made the NCAA game go away. They don't make those games anymore.
But somebody asked him, "Hey, are you getting paid for this?" No.
I actually have a scanner, Poncho. It's kind of based on Jollibee's scanner. Jollibee made a filter on CheddarFlow which finds like the cheap options, like the lottos, and I made one kind of similar. I call it the poor man's lottos. There are any lottos below $1, which are $100 in options. So these are the biggest ones on that poor man's scan. The biggest ones are SPX 4075s. Those are ridiculous. I would completely ignore those. That is actually insane. So SPX is where the big boys play. This is like the S&P on steroids. That's where the big boys play. It's pretty much like ES, the contracts. This is really, really far away. That's a 200-point failure. 200-point failure by, what is that? 5 days? 4 days? That's not going to happen. Some other lottos here. ARC G 9921s for July 16th. They're going for about 80 to 85.
SPX is all cash settled, the options. Do you know how much the collateral is on those?
Oh, it's huge. It's where all the big boys play.
I wanted to sell a put. I had to do a spread or a butterfly because they wanted 77,000 to sell one contract.
Yep. See, like this is the premium, guys, on SPX. This is not even unusual. This is just common. 16 million, 13 million, 13. Like, look, these are all like in the millions. 5 to 20 million, because this is where the big boys play. The retail guys do not trade SPX. And if we look at the call flow for the past week, it's very bearish. 2.4 put to call on the SPX. So people are betting against SPY right now.
And on the NASDAQ side, you have the NDX.
Yep.
And one good thing about doing spreads or butterflies on SPX is that you can't get assigned.
Yeah, Sean, that's a really good point. So I actually want to cover that. Thank you for bringing that up. So the Expedia guy, he is very delta positive, so he is losing money on the way down. But actually, is it going to tell us? Let me see. We can actually find out. Did the IV go up since he took those options? Let's see. It's funny. We were just talking about those. There's more coming in. He just bought more. 120 2023. He bought 180s for 1.3 million. Speak of the devil. There he is. So let me actually pull these up here. We'll find out. So his biggest order, let's see. Does it tell us the implied volatility? It does, 39%. So let me pull it up on Tasty. What is... Sorry about that, guys. That's the ending bell. What is the volatility right now? 195s. What did he buy him at? 39? No, so they're the same. So he has not made any money on Vega yet. If that volatility goes up, so if that goes up to like 42 or like 43, then he's getting paid fat. Because his delta is 49. So that's pretty high. That means he's losing about $50 per $1 move for every contract. And he has thousands of contracts. So he's losing $50 times, let's just quickly see how many contracts he has. I don't even feel like doing that math. Let's just say he has like 3,000 or something. So he's losing $1,500 per $1 move of Expedia. But for every 1% move in implied volatility, he's making $86. So he's making more money on volatility than he is on delta. So all he needs is like a couple percent move in volatility and he gets paid. If that goes up by like 5%, it's going to cover, let's see here, I'll do the math for you guys. So like, let's say it goes up by 5%. You would take his Vega, which is 86. So he'd make about 430. But then you take his delta. So we divide this by, let's do 49. It protects him against almost a $9 move. So if implied volatility goes up by 5%, he's protected from a $9 move. That means it could go in the wrong direction, $9, and he'll still make money. It's already gone in the wrong direction for about $7. So he's getting buried a little bit. And to put this into perspective, these big name blue chip companies, their implied volatility does not move very quickly. So for him to make a 5% move on implied volatility, that's not going to be easy. He's going to need some like unusual news. He's going to need earnings. He's going to need a bunch of unusual shit to happen. Those big name companies do not move very rapidly. See, he's got a new mic. I think he's on his phone. Baidu setting up for a trade. Yeah, that trade's already playing out, man. Baidu's getting paid already. It could give you another trade if it pulls back to retest the accumulation. The 21 hasn't even crossed the 50 yet, so it's not even getting started yet for like the big move. The big move to like 250, 300. Would you say CRM macro is looking pretty good? Let's see. He was asking if you got a new mic, but I think you're just using your phone, right?
Do I sound that different?
Yeah, it's a little more robotic, I guess you would say. CRM still just bull flagging. You're losing momentum. We talked about this one, I think, last week. So until that momentum reclaims that trend, like climbs above that trend, it's just going to keep going sideways or pull back. So I would not feel comfortable in this until it starts to gain some more momentum. You can see it's tried to break out 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and it's failed every time. All right, guys, I think we have covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. You guys have anything you want me to look at before we go? All right, I'm not seeing anything in the chat, so I'm going to do one last little alert for the subscribers. You want to take a look at Ethereum? All right, I'll do Ethereum, and then we'll call it a day. I actually had Ethereum charted. Where's Ethereum at? I have that charted? I guess not. We had this charted on the summary markets, though. So you're basically looking at the range right here. So we bounced beautifully off that range low. If you guys watch my summary, you could have had a very good buying opportunity there. You have the 21 coming up. So when we break that 21, a little bit of resistance around 2320, which is the middle of the range, but then we don't really have any resistance until we get back to like 2600. So you could see a nice climb there if you do break that level. But long story short, it's just still in a range. So you want to be respecting the lows, buy the lows, and respecting the highs, sell the highs, right? And then anything in between, you could use those levels for scalping, but swing trading, yeah, they're a little riskier. But yeah, I like that bounce, pretty strong bounce. It had a very micro bull div, so a very micro bull div there, right on the range low and the pivot. So when we reclaim the pivot, right around 1900, that was a very good warning that it wanted to go higher. So you're still black on the OTS, meaning the sellers are still strong. You can see how we shifted from white to black. That means the sellers took control. So until that shifts back to white, I wouldn't be too bullish. Same thing on the weekly. Look at the weekly. We were white for a very, very long time, meaning the bulls were in complete control all the way up. And now they're turning black. So this could be a trap. So if it's only a couple candles and then it starts to retrace, then this becomes a trap and that leads to a pretty big move up. But we can't really call that a trap just yet. So I would be keeping an eye on that. But definitely, I do like the buy pressure that's coming in. But all right, guys, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I will be posting analysis later in Discord. I'll try to keep it not too late, probably around 9 o'clock. So be on the lookout for that. I don't think there's any call flow that I wanted to cover tonight, but if I see any other stuff that I didn't cover in our channel, I will post it in the analysis. So be on the lookout for that as well. And that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure if you guys are new, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Scanner stream starts at 9:30 in the morning, and then analysis will be at 3 p.m. Peace out, guys.